So here are what's up in 2026. Windows 10 is dead, or even better, Windows dead is 10. Windows 11 is amazing, it's just your old computer that sucks. And with prices skyrocketing on everything, even when a basic office PC feels like a total rip-off to you, you have to buy a new one, because Windows 11, just as I said, is too good. But what if that's exactly what big companies want you to think? What if most big tech companies are wrong? What if you can take a 30 bucks Relic PC and make it run modern software just fine? You don't believe me? Grab your tinfoil hat then, because we're about to debunk another myth created to promote the heinous AI slop era and everything it brings with it. But remember, if you make it to the end of this video and you really enjoy the content, you might also want to support the channel. So for those of you living in Europe and hunting for second-hand stuff, you can sign up at one of Europe's best marketplace, Tradera.com, and use my referral code at checkout to get about 10 euros off your first purchase. In return, you will also support the channel. Alternatively, anyone can sign up and send me Tradera's digital gift cards. Those go straight towards picking up more hardware for future videos. All the links and details are down in the description. So, the computer hardware and software landscape in 2026 is honestly a disgusting mess. Between corporate greediness, high margin profits, and the endless flood of AI slop, it feels like mainstream PC customers have been completely sidelined. We are currently trapped in a cycle where manufacturers are funneling every available resource into AI data centers, effectively trying to damage the personal computer landscape and changing it into something that no one asked for. Because of this shift, we are seeing massive price inflation for DDR5 and DDR4 RAM, as well as every type of storage device. It doesn't matter if you are looking at desktop, laptops or smartphones. If it uses RAM or NAND chips, you are going to pay the AI tax. The end result? Putting together a standard gaming computer, and I'm not talking about a top-tier enthusiast rig, just a simple PC for home productivity tasks and casual gaming, it can easily set you back about $1,500 to $2,000 US. Even the entry-level market is right now a total disaster. We've reached a point where a basic office machine today costs what a mid-tier gaming rig would cost you just 12 months ago. Naturally, your first instinct might be to look at the second-hand market, especially if you just need a reliable office PC. Going used was always a smart move. But even with that, there is today a huge hurdle. You see, Windows 10 has been in end of life for about 6 months or so, which essentially turned millions of computers into high security risk. Transitioning these machines to Windows 11 is impossible, or more accurately, it's just not supported. What Microsoft did while transitioning to Windows 11 is that they implemented two high controversial hardware barriers, TPM 2.0 and Secure Boot. On top of those security layers, they restricted official support to only, let's say, modern-ish CPUs. Now, is raising hardware requirements barrier inherently wrong? I will say no, if it leads to a better product. But the way Windows is doing it is less progress and more gatekeeping. Technically, Windows 11 isn't that more demanding than Windows 10. Almost any PC built in the last 15 or so years can run the Core OS. The real wall is the mandatory TPM 2.0 and Secure Boot, which for the average computer user, this level of security measures is overkill. Most users have stayed perfectly safe for years without these features, and if you want more proof, take for example Linux that never used those and never will. What's really happening here is that Microsoft is effectively tech-blocking millions of capable machines. It's a textbook case of artificial obsolescence, stripping away your right to maintain your own hardware and forcing you to buy a new one. This strategy completely ignores the massive environmental toll and, among many other things, the unnecessary financial burden it places on everyday users. To make matters worse, most people feel they can't just walk away from Microsoft's ecosystem. We've been conditioned for decades to stay within the Windows environment and all its proprietary software developers. But what these big tech giants won't tell you is that you don't have to submit to their demands. There are still ways to keep legacy hardware running modern software. Take for example the machine I'm using for this video. A 15-year-old Fujitsu Esperimo P510 that I picked up for $30 shipping included. On paper, it's obsolete. In reality, with a few cheap upgrades here and there is almost nothing you'd do on a modern low-entry Office PC that this machine can't handle. Under the hood, there is a proprietary motherboard with 1155 socket and B75 chipset that houses an Intel Core i5-3470. Back in 2012, this was a solid mid-range workhorse, but in 2026, a 4-core configuration from a 3rd-gen Intel is really an outdated CPU. Modern applications and even web browsing in some occasions will absolutely hammer those poor 4 cores, leading to noticeable system latency. The 8GB of DDR3 1600 MHz RAM in today's landscape is the bare minimum just to get the operating system to load, but it doesn't leave much breathing room for actually using it. And when you consider that modern applications are optimized for high bandwidth DDR5 RAM, you have to wonder if this HDDR3 memory can even keep up with basic apps. For the power department, we have a modest proprietary 280 watt PSU. It lacks PCI connectors, so it doesn't have the overhead to support a modern GPU. For sure, while you could technically drop in a GTX 1050 Ti for light gaming, this is strictly a budget office build, so I will keep this GeForce GT 710 just to act as a basic display adapter. This PC came with zero storage, which explains the rock bottom price. In 2026, with NAND flash memory prices spiraling like it is precious metal, even a used half terabyte SSD can be a significant investment for a low-budget computer. To make this machine actually usable for modern office workloads, I had first to swap out the aging i5-3470 for an Intel Xeon E3 1240 V2. This is essentially a Core i7-3770 in disguise, and you can find them on the used market for as little as $15. The single change from 4 cores and 4 threads to 4 cores and 8 threads configuration might not sound significant, but in 2026 those extra 8 threads will play a huge role to turn a system that stutters during 4K YouTube video playback into a smooth experience while also handling modern lightweight tasks with exceptional stability. And all this without needing to replace the proprietary stock cooler, which that would increase a bit the difficulty level and certainly the cost of this project. Next, it is the memory. While DDR5 and DDR4 prices are currently bloated, the DDR3 can still be found for dirty cheap. I sourced 2 additional sticks with matching speeds and timings, basically populating all 4 slots for a total of 16GB of RAM. By today's standards, 16GB, I think, is the true baseline for any system. Finally, for storage, I dug up an old 80GB Intel SATA SSD that I had forgotten about, fine for installing an operating system. I paired this with a 500GB Western Digital hard disk drive for bulk storage. I believe this is right now the ultimate spare parts combo that still gets the job done, and it will cost you almost nothing. Especially if you already have a forgotten SSD or HDD tucked away in a drawer or somewhere. Then again, even with today's inflated market, nobody is heading for small capacity drives like 120GB SSD or half terabyte HDDs. So you can pick this up for a fraction of what a new, for example, 1TB NVMe costs today. Now, here is where things get frustrating, especially if you aren't a seasoned computer user. As I mentioned earlier, this PC is technically unsupported by Windows 11, and since Windows 10 has reached end of life, staying on this expired operating system poses a significant security risk. Things get even more complicated when you realize that even if you find a way to bypass Microsoft's software restrictions, your hardware might still revolt. What I mean by that is that you are stuck between these old systems' CSM mode that Windows 11 is allergic to. And even if you try to disable it to get that UEFI compatibility, then the GT710 card that isn't UEFI compatible will fail to initialize a video signal, and then you will need to create a bootable Windows 11 installation with the help of Rufus. That is a tool that you have to download, but even then, Windows installation will not recognize any storage devices, drivers and stuff, and then you have to somehow download the right drivers for the SSD, and so on and so on and so on. And for a non-tech savvy user, I'm sure that so far I speak Greek to you. But what I mean is Microsoft has built a brick wall, and for a non-experienced PC user, installing Windows 11 on a system like this is borderline impossible. Now, are there ways to bypass all this nonsense? Sure, yes, there are, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Even though I personally perform these Windows 11 installation shenanigans on unsupported hardware for my clients, it's usually because they simply refuse to leave the Microsoft ecosystem. To be fair, I don't blame them. Certain applications like the MS Office suite are practically tethered to the Windows environment. I use that as an example because even though there are plenty of capable alternative Office suites available on other platforms, many users just aren't willing to trade for those. Most users don't have the luxury of time to navigate to new operating systems or step out of their comfort zone to learn unfamiliar software. They just want the convenience they've been trained on for years. Look, this is just my perspective. I'm not here to force anyone into something that they are uncomfortable with. But if you truly want to reclaim your right in today's digital world, you have to stop feeding into the cycle of these corporate greedy mother effers. If you want to move forward, you have to find alternative solutions that actually respect your hardware ownership and your right to use your equipment as you see fit. There are communities out there building software specifically designed to put power back into the hands of the many rather than the corporate few. Developers who are still focused on democratizing computational resources and applications that allow your PC to reliably run your daily tasks. For sure, it might be a bit painful at first letting go of that familiar convenience and learning something new. But that minor learning curve is a small price to pay compared to letting a software giant turn your computer into a paperweight, all while they profit from this forced obsolescence and laugh into your face. So here's a well-known solution that actually works. On this exact hardware, Linux is a total game changer and the ultimate middle finger to Microsoft's restrictive policies. It doesn't care about TPM 2.0, it doesn't care about secure boot, it doesn't care that your CPU or GPU is from 2012 or 2010 or whatever. In fact, in some cases, it's significantly faster and definitely more secure than an expired, vulnerable version of Windows 10 or the bloated Windows 11. Whether you use text editors and spreadsheets, or writing your first code, or browsing the net or watching YouTube, Linux handles all with ease. So what is the bottom line here? For a total investment of roughly $60 and the small trade-off of teaching Windows to learn the ropes of a new operating system, or whatever you decide to do, an old system like this with the right upgrades is still a solid Office machine and completely disproves the idea that these machines belong in a landfill just because big tech companies said so. And with that, we've reached the end of another Tech Necromancy video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.